Good afternoon, everyone. I know we are tired. It's been over 2 hours. So I'm going to beg you guys to please muster the little energy you can, and let's put through the next 10, 11 minutes. All right, like you said, I'm Esther Mgbemeje. I know it's difficult to pronounce. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm a master's student at Socheon National University. I'm an energy engineering master's student, actually graduating in 2 months. So today I'll be talking about Korean NGO's role in public diplomacy. We have just basically 4 areas I'll be covering: introduction, which we've had a lot of already, and I'll be talking briefly about Korea's public diplomacy, the limitations or challenges of Korea's public diplomacy, pertinent roles of NGOs, which is what I will emphasize a little bit more, and solution of integrating all key stakeholders into the success story of Korea's public diplomacy. Simply put, I would say public diplomacy is basically a communication between citizens of a foreign country citizens and government of a foreign country with another country in a bid to achieve mutual interest or national interest. The thing I want us to just because there have been so many definitions, so I want us to go basic, right? So think of public diplomacy like friendship. You want to make a friend. What do you look out for? You don't want someone who tells you to your face, "I want to be your friend because you're rich or because you're intelligent. I want to gain something from you." Even though you know maybe that's the reason, you don't just want it on your face, right? So when you're dealing with a government is dealing with other governments or other citizens, don't make it transparent that you want oil from Nigeria or you want maybe diamond from this country or something. You have to actually make it about being not disrespectful. It has to be not demeaning. You have to be and not misleading, because in the bid of trying to let me not be too forward, don't try to give a different perspective of what you want. Just don't make it too obvious. That's the point. And most importantly, public diplomacy uses soft power, which we've heard a lot of already. So just give you a basic triangle diagram. It involves 3 phases: the short-term and long-term goals, advocacy strategies, profile raising strategies, and relationship building, which the NGO really focuses on. Like, they focuses on in the relationship part, because they deal with the grassroots people, communication with the grassroots people. So I like to talk about public diplomacy in 9 words. One is attraction. What do you have to offer? When Korea wants to talk to other countries, don't tell them about military strength and all that, because nobody wants war. But you have education, you have technology, you have good IT infrastructures. So show them that, show the countries that this is what I can offer you, so that they become attracted. Okay, let's look into Korea. And then it's about interaction, communication. Exactly like I said earlier, communicate what you want, but without being too forward and without being too don't be disrespectful. It's really important, because when a government senses that you're being disrespectful, they just don't want anything to do with you, or they begin to have a negative perception about you and your citizens. And it's about relationship. We're talking about some can be short-term, medium-term, or long-term, but the goal of public diplomacy is basically to have long-term relationships. And trust is really important, because without trust, a relationship cannot last. Even in our marriages and in our friendship, it can last. The mutual respect, like I've stressed on before, mutual benefit. As I'm giving you IT strength and whatnot, what am I getting from you? I want you to know more about Korea. I want you to know more about our culture, our language, our people. It's not just about war. You have to. It's a mutual process. And like I said, knowledge, culture, and also events like Olympic Games, hosting of Olympic Games, conferences, and summits. Korea's public diplomacy, I would delve a little bit more into this, because in the course of learning Korean language, you discover much about Korea's history and culture. And you find out that Korea actually suffered a lot through the Japanese War, and after that, the Korean War. And after the Korean War, South Korea especially was really demoralized and really distraught. Like, there was poverty, there was death, starvation, and it was really bad. And it was from that point there was a need to show people that, we grew out of this. We actually succeeded, and we don't want to see us as victims anymore. So it's really important to support South Korea. And the second part is the general conception of globalization and the growing use of internet and all the new media that we have today. Just a quick chart to show you how soft power in public diplomacy has gotten more articles in terms of publication compared to the normal government or cultural stuff. And the second graph also shows you South Korea towards the second end there, in the terms of also how much soft power is being used these days. Korea is not the best yet, no, but at least the efforts are beginning to show some results. So I want to talk about a little bit more about Korean public diplomacy efforts. In sports, Korea has so many ministries and programs organizing taekwondo. Taekwondo is a sport that relates with the mind, the peace of the mind and calm of the mind, and it's actually Korea's national sport. So you have some people being taken abroad for exchange programs to teach other countries taekwondo programs and whatnot. And then you have education. So many people have talked about the GSIS scholarship and also the GSIS scholarship, which I'm actually a recipient of. Yeah, I know we are so many of us. And then you have the Hallyu. But before I go into Hallyu, I want to talk about also why it's important to have a good national image. Before I applied for the GSIS scholarship, I actually was looking for a scholarship in the field I wanted to study, energy engineering, but in a developed country that has the infrastructure, so that when I come back to Nigeria, I can do something good for my country. And I wanted something like a full scholarship program. And I saw this GSIS online. I knew nothing about Korea. And that's a big problem. Nigeria has over 170 million people, but very few people know about Korea or other parts of Asia. We know, oh, Japan and China, that's all we know. And even though you have LG products and Samsung products, people don't relate them to Korea. And that's a negative part of not actually publicizing yourself on what you have to offer. So when I applied and got the scholarship, and I told my dad, oh, I'm going to Korea, guess what my dad told me? They are fighting, there's nuclear weapons going up everywhere. Are you sure you're going to be safe? I'm like, no, it's just the news. Don't worry, Dad, I'm safe, you know? But every time I'm in my lab and I hear some military training, like artillery is going on, I'm like, oh, okay, Koreans, are we safe? You know, they're like, no, don't worry, they're just training, you know? So these are the negative conceptions because of the link to North Korea. And then I'll go briefly to culture like Hallyu, K-food, and what have you, and the relief NGO. Korea's NGO, though not as strong as other countries, but they're beginning to do some, take up more roles in the public diplomacy and also in the global society. And then another issue with Korea is also the catchphrases. Like most of you are aware of I sold you, or you know, like that. And when people saw I sold you, especially foreigners, were like, oh, they started making memes like, oh, like maybe propose to someone like I sold you or something, because foreigners couldn't really get the concept Korea was trying to put out with that catchphrase. And that's the main problem is because Korea directly translates from the Korean language perspective into English, not knowing that sometimes grammatically it's not correct and it may not be actually putting forth what they want to say. And then there's a miscommunication and it turns into mockery. So that's also another problem. Not much feasibility studies is being going into what the target audience actually think or what their opinion is. And that's a big problem in the Korea public diplomacy strategy. And lastly, ICT. So I'd like to now deeply into the limitations and challenges, like I said in the beginning of my paper in the introduction section. There is a lack of adequate key integration of key stakeholders. Now, who are the stakeholders? First of all is the government agencies, and then you have the private corporations. Then you have the NGOs, the civil society, which are the NGOs and other groups that come together with a common interest. And then you have the citizens and also the media. Citizens are not just only the host countries or the target countries, but also the domestic citizens of the country who is trying to carry out the strategies. What you have in Korea most times is so many ministries or so many organizations trying to do something, but there is no common goal, there is no target. The government has not said, okay, in 5 years, let's set a target. What are we going to achieve with our public diplomacy efforts? Just the way they did in their economic growth, and they succeeded because there was a 3-step plan, and they kept to that plan, and it worked. But in case of public diplomacy, I think maybe they are not able to grasp the power or the rate at which it's going so fast. So it's how people just try to put out things, Hallyu is going on, and you know, so many people are just trying to do only Hallyu and forgetting about the other aspects or the other key holders of public diplomacy. And that's one thing the government has to do. Stop leaving all the work to the private sector and try to come up with a general plan where you highlight everybody's role and say, okay, this is what you should do, and this is what you should do, and this is how we can collectively make this work. And secondly, there's, like I said, the narrow perception, because they're not really familiar with what public diplomacy can really do or what can it really achieve. They're still trying to understand the process. And then there is the intercity competition. Like you have dynamic nego, you have sparkling, you have traditional Jeonju, because Jeonju is like the most traditional city. But the problem is there's a wide difference in development and exposure of cities compared to the suburbs. Like if you go to Seoul, you're like, wow, God, this is amazing. You're having a great life. But then you come to this like Namwon or Iksan, and it's like, is this Korea? What's going on? And you're walking on the streets, and Koreans are like staring at you like, oh wow, who is this person? A foreigner? Oh my God! But in Seoul, you don't even remember that you're a foreigner. You're blended in. You're having the time of your life, and this is a big discrepancy with the technology growth, because the government, the local government, the mayors are not coming together to work towards the same goal. They're competing with themselves, and with that, we're not having the achievements we should have. And then the language barrier. Korea have so many students coming in, and like the KGSIS program, you learn a Korean language for 1 year. In that course of learning the language, you also learn the culture. Beautiful. But Koreans don't actually take the time to learn other people's culture. Even when you meet someone for 5 minutes, learn something about their culture, because you may not have the opportunity to go to that country in your lifetime. And learning about their culture also gives you the perspective of trying to understand how best to relate to that person, how best to communicate without being disrespectful to any of yourselves. So they don't do that. And because of that, you have foreigners coming in and becoming more globalized and more exposed. But the same is not said for Koreans themselves. And then the discrepancy with the South and North Korea. I will quickly show you. This is what I saw online. The world's most dangerous border. This is how it is. Google it and you just see it like this. Now tell me, you know nothing about Korea. You don't know about Samsung or Lotte or anything. You see this. Will you want to come to this country? You wouldn't. So this is the kind of negative media Korea is receiving from the constant battle with North Korea. And they have to fix this. And in fixing this, it's not just fixing only Hallyu, because Hallyu may get people interested and they want to know more, and then they see this and they're like, oh my God. And it's the whole thing is waste. It's a waste. I'll let this slide because of time. So what are the roles of NGOs? Now, NGOs are like the best tools you can have, because they are already with the grassroots people, they're already with your target markets. They have built this relationship because they are dealing with this person. Someone gives you an education, or gives you food, or gives you clothing. You have that bond, that gratefulness with them. So Korean government has to make use of this bond. NGOs are supposed to be very transparent and be the mouthpiece of the oppressed, of the poor. They are the balance between government policies and the people. So they have to make use of this too, and not just leave NGOs there or just give them money once in a while and think, oh, it's just one of the achievements of the government. They have to engage NGOs more. And also the NGOs, they have to tackle global issues, and these are something that Korea has taken more stand in. So with the use of NGOs, they can help reach out to more countries, even in developing nations, and be able to achieve real results. The proposed strategy to successfully integrate all stakeholders, like I said earlier, the government, the private sector, the NGOs, they simply design an overall, something like an overall yearly target, where the government says, okay, for this year or for so amount of years, we're going to achieve this, and what are the methods. Now, each stakeholder has to have representatives in this team or in this committee. So they meet yearly, monthly or bi-monthly, depending on how the program is designed. So they can actually, you don't have people, like the first speaker said, overlapping policies or overlapping targets. You don't have that. And then you have you have to have a broadened showcasing of Korea's culture. After people get excited about Hallyu, then what? So you have to educate your citizens also. You have to educate every stakeholder involved, no matter how, even the media. Educate everyone involved so that when the people get excited and they want to know more, there's a follow-up and it's mostly a smooth transition. Like I said, there are increased responsibilities of NGOs and then constant reminder of each stakeholder jurisdiction. So there is no crossing of, this is my field and you're coming into my field and stuff like that. There's no fighting. In summary, public policy is a growing formidable force in regional and international relationship building in countries and national image. And the role of NGOs should be increased, especially in Korea. They should employ more, give NGOs the respect and the tax that they need, the responsibility that they need, because right now the Korean NGOs are basically doing very little compared to what they can actually do to help achieve the best results Korea can achieve in public policy growth. Thank you very much.